everyone, it's Clarice, and today I'm going to be talking about some of the books that I've recently read. The first of those books being We by Evgeny Zamyatin. We is a classic dystopian novel, which is, if I remember correctly, the novel that actually was the main influence to George Orwell while he was writing 1984. Generally, fascinating books are my favorite type of books. And when you're reading We, you're following the perspective of this guy that is so deep into the culture in this novel and believes so strongly in the idea that freedom is the enemy of happiness. And I found myself while I was reading this book just writing down so many passages in it, mainly because of this. Because there were lots of them that I found so disturbing that anyone, even if that person is fictional, could think that way. It was also really interesting reading about the reasoning behind why they believed in certain things, and then seeing the logic and understanding the logic but also not agreeing with it. And there are also some passages that I found kind of strangely witty. That being said, I did find during the second half of the book especially that I wasn't as excited to continue reading this book, and I felt like they weren't really adding as much. Not necessarily because it really dragged, it just wasn't as exciting to me anymore at that point. And that's the only reason I think that this novel isn't like a new favorite of mine or anything. But overall, I would definitely recommend it, especially if you enjoyed 1984 or if you want to get into more classic dystopian novels. After that, I read Chronicle of a Death Foretold by Gabriel Garcia Marquez, which is actually a novella. I had originally planned to read 100 Years of Solitude by this Colombian writer, but unfortunately at this point in my life when I read this, I was deep into Hell Week in school and I just couldn't bother. As someone who's used to reading books that are more plot driven, it always takes me a little bit of adjusting to start reading a book that is more driven by themes or writing or that sort of thing. And this book was definitely not like the usual books that I read, but I still found it really interesting. Basically, as you can see from the title, it's about a death foretold. It's a murder mystery-ish, except you already actually know what's going to happen at the beginning of this book. You already know who's going to get killed, who the killer is. The rest of the book is more to try to find out why the murder was able to happen in spite of everything else that happened, and in spite of the fact that most of the village or area or whatever actually knew about this murder before it happened. Why did it still happen? And it was a really interesting reading experience. Again, it's very different from the usual books that I read, but I'm glad that I read it, and I do look forward to reading more of his work eventually when I have more time and more attention to dedicate to it. So my camera ran out of battery, and for almost 2 days I was too lazy to continue filming. So that's what happened. Anyway, the next book I was going to talk about was The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo by Stieg Larsson, who is a Swedish author, and this is the first book in the Millennium series. Going into this book, I was not aware that it was a mystery novel, and I seem to be doing that a lot lately, reading mystery novels by accident. And I don't know why I don't read more mystery, because I seem to love it every single time. And this is a book that I've been aware of for a long time, that I've been hearing a lot about for a long time, that I've never picked up, and then I just randomly decided to, and I'm so glad that I did, because I really enjoyed it. Some of the reasons why I enjoyed it so much were, one, because of the mystery aspect of it. Like I mentioned previously, I really enjoy trying to predict what's going to happen in a book, and feel that a lot more in mystery novels than you do in other books. And I was able to predict some of the things again, but I don't feel that it took away from the book. And that's the most important thing. Number two, I really enjoyed the characters. Most especially Lisbeth. She's just such an interesting character that it's hard not to just get excited while you're reading about her. Number three, I also enjoyed that there were a lot of more feminist themes in this book. And also, trigger warning, there is some sexual abuse in this book, so if that's something you're sensitive to, maybe you should stay away. But I really again enjoyed that aspect of this book. And lastly, number four, it was just a really difficult book to put down. It was so engrossing. It was a mystery novel, but there was also a lot of business politics in it, some journalism related things, and also a bit of hacking. which I really enjoyed. Overall, this is a book I really enjoyed, and I really do look forward to reading the rest of this series. The only reason I haven't yet is because I heard that it's really difficult to finish the second book and not go right ahead to the third book, and I didn't really have time for 2 books at the time that I finished this book, so I couldn't really do that. But hopefully soon. If you notice, the first 3 books that I mentioned all came from different countries, and that's because I was basically trying to continue what I'd been doing in March, which was to try to read a bunch of books from a bunch of different countries and see how many I could read without repeating any countries. And at that point, I had reached 10 different books from 10 different countries, and then I decided to stop. And the reason I did that was because a very special book came in the mail, and I could not stop myself from reading it. And that book was Shadows of Self by Brandon Sanderson. And because I can't stop myself from reading Brandon Sanderson. If you didn't know, this is the second book in the second Mistborn trilogy. So obviously, I cannot say much about this book without spoiling like 2 series at the same time. And I've also actually already reviewed Ally of Law previously, and a bunch of my thoughts are very similar. But one thing I enjoyed in this book specifically was it got me really nostalgic about the original Mistborn trilogy. We were brought back to a lot of the things that took place in the old Mistborn trilogy, some of the religion and some of the events that happened, and we got to learn actually a bit more about the religions and the world and things, and I love that. It made me feel so nostalgic, and I kind of want to reread the original Mistborn trilogy now, but I don't think I have the time, but hopefully I can get to that sometime soon because I really want to. And this book was really good. Brandon Sanderson definitely surprises me with his plots. He always does, and I love his book so much. Even though this trilogy I don't feel is nearly as good as the original Mistborn trilogy, it's still amazing. It's still set in an awesome world, and I love it a lot. And the last book I'm going to talk about today is Old Man's War by John Scalzi, which is a book that I've been wanting to read for so long. I read Fuzzy Nation by John Scalzi last year, and I really liked it. And then I read Agent of the Stars by John Scalzi, which I didn't really like, but in spite of that, I'm still really excited to get to Old Man's War. Old Man's War had so many of the things that I love in sci-fi, with the addition of John Scalzi's amazing humor, which I love. Old Man's War had a lot of interesting tech, and then was able to explain some of them, and it sounded so cool, and I loved hearing about how they worked and how they were used and that sort of thing. And I just love learning about new tech in sci-fi. I just find it so cool. And it was also nice because we got to learn about some alien cultures and even some alien religions, which I find interesting in sci-fi and fantasy in general. I love learning about fictional cultures and fictional religions. And the concept itself is just so fascinating. If you don't know what Old Man's War is about, basically there are humans colonizing and participating in intergalactic war type things. And for whatever reason, if you're a human on Earth and you wanted to sign up for the army in this war, then you couldn't until you were 75. Only old people could sign up for this war. And it makes you wonder, why do they want old people in a war? Isn't war like a young man's game? What's happening? What the hell do they do to us up there when we sign up for war? And it's so interesting. But what's nice about it is, even though it has a lot of those sci-fi elements that people who read sci-fi would really appreciate, I don't feel that it's a book that would be difficult for people who don't normally read sci-fi to read, just because everybody appreciates good humor and good storytelling regardless of the genre. And generally, I love this book. It's a new favorite, and I definitely look forward to reading the rest of this series, and I highly recommend it. So those are some of the books that I read recently. What have you been reading recently, and have any of them been really good, like Old Man's War? Please tell me about it in the comment section down below. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in my next video. Bye!